Okay, so this is part 2. If you guys haven't watched part 1, go watch part 1 because this is a follow-up to part 1. So I was talking about my grandfather. My grandfather loved roses. He had a rose garden. His favorite song was The Rose by Bette Midler. He was a musician. He played in an orchestra. He was part of the Orlando Jazz Society. He was a conductor, and music was his life. And the day that my grandfather... Well, let's just back it up a little bit. I had a dream one night. I hadn't talked to my grandfather in a while, but I had a dream. And in the dream, my mom came to me and she said, Shauna, your grandfather's gotten to be too difficult for Grandma to handle. She just can't do it anymore. We're going to have to put him down. Like a dog. We're going to have to put him down. She said, we're going to have one last hurrah for him, one last party. She goes, I need you to call your brother and tell him about it. And my brother's a Jehovah's Witness. And in my dream, he was still Jehovah's Witness. And I call him up and I'm telling him what's going on. And in my dream, he's going, we don't celebrate life and death and we don't do parties. And it's not my thing. I'm not going to come. Now, we're Italian. So I'm yelling and screaming at my brother and, you have to be there. I don't care about your thing. We're Italian. This is your grandfather. You have to be there. And I woke up yelling at him and my whole face was red. And I went to the bathroom and you could see fresh tears streaming down my face. And it took me a minute to realize that it was just a dream. And I called my mom, who I hadn't spoke to in months. Me and my biological mother were not very close, and she was kind of hard, a little rough around the edges. And I call her up, and she's like, yeah. And I was like, how is everything? Is everybody okay? She's like, yeah, we're fine. I said, well, how's Grandma and Grandpa? Are they okay? She goes, well, actually, Shauna, she goes, Grandpa's gotten to be too difficult for Grandma to handle, and she just can't do it anymore. We're going to have to put him in a home. It was the same exact words that were in my dream. Except instead of putting him down, they were putting him in a home. She said, your grandfather's in the hospital. You should go see him. So I did. I went to the hospital where he was tied to a bed. They said that he was trying to remove the IV and the cords that he had all hooked up to him. He didn't know who he was. He didn't know where he was. And he was fighting the nurses who were trying to help him. So they sedated him. He went from the hospital to hospice, where he would never wake up again. Sorry, gotta catch myself there. So why am I talking about my grandfather? My grandfather who loves roses, whose favorite song is The Rose. I don't know. But I did this drawing, and the young lady who won, Caitlin, she sends me this message. And she says, hello, Salty. It's Caitlin from TikTok. Shivers and tears, but all happy. I was talking to my grandpa who passed away, and I just said tonight how I was missing him and thinking of him. Then this happened. My heart is so full. And that, my friends, makes my heart full. It makes my heart full. These raffles and drawings for the Woodburns, they really bring a lot of joy to me and to the people who are involved in doing them. People now have an opportunity to get a Woodburn. The Woodburns are normally $150. We're doing something that nobody else in the world is doing. There's only one other person who's creating 3D reliefs in wood of people, and he's using a CNC machine. It's a totally different process altogether. He charges over $1,000 per a relief. Now, our Woodburns start at $45, and our highest price one runs about $200. Maybe $250 is the max you're going to spend. But they're made differently. They're made with light by burning wood. We burn wood with light. So I responded to her message with this. Oh, my heart just melted a little. He was looking over you tonight. It's odd that I happen to mention my grandfather during the live. I don't talk about him often. I said, this is not a coincidence. I do believe strongly in spirits guiding us and giving us messages. I get feelings and energy vibes and messages sometimes when I make wood burns of people who have passed. Making them a very spiritual experience and connects me to the other side, allowing me insight I would not otherwise have. She responded, whoa, I have chills now. We lost our home to tornadoes here. 12/9/2023, and the only thing left in the back area was his fingerprint necklaces, sheltering the closet with my cats that survived. The fire department still cannot explain it, but we are so thankful we at least had them. I said, "Oh wow," and she continued, "He passed 2 days after his birthday, and I flew into town before he entered hospice. They say hearing is the last to go, so I would talk to him. Well, a few days after his passing, he came to me in my dreams and told me what I had told him, and he wasn't in pain anymore." It was at that moment that I felt the need to call her and tell her the story about my own grandfather and the dream that I had had prior to his passing. I truly do believe that people can come to you in dreams from the other side and bring you messages. I believe that he truly came to her, and I believe that she saw what was true to her grandfather. When I confirmed what I believed to be true of her story and I told her about my grandfather, she was brought to tears. I told her about my grandfather's love for roses and how his favorite song was The Rose. And she told me that her grandfather's last name is Rose. Y'all, this girl is now my soul sister for life. And this is the kind of shit that happens when it comes to these wood burns. And I could tell you story after story. And I was telling my man, and I was talking to him about it. And he was like, yeah, we started doing this research and started diving down the rabbit hole and started talking about spiritual practices, Native American spiritual practices, and the use of fire to cross to the other side and communicate with the other side. We talked about how we're doing something that nobody else is doing. We use light to burn away the dark in an image. And it produces this smoke. And the only thing that is left is the light in the image, which is the person. So we release and remove all of the negative energy and allow them through the light and through the burning of the wood by using light to cross over to the light. We truly and honestly believe that we have a spiritual connection with every single person that we do a wood burn of. There is something very magical about what we are doing here that I can't even begin to explain. I grew up my whole life being an atheist, never believed in God, never believed in the other side, never believed in any of it until I saw it with my own eyes. And now there's only one way to explain the things that I have seen. And in that newfound realization, I have met hundreds of people who don't think we're crazy and who 1000% believe themselves because they too have had their own experiences. So I just wanted to share that story with y'all. I love you and stay salty, my friends.